I'm Sadie Halverson. I'm the Regional Program Coordinator on Central and Northern Vancouver Island for the Parent Support Services Society of BC. Welcome to our webinar about the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren Support Line. The Parent Support Services Society of BC has been supporting families in the province for over 45 years. Our hope is to make a difference in the lives of children by supporting those who are parenting them. For the beginning of our life as an organization, we offered support groups to parents, and we still continue to do that. But for the last 20 years, we've also expanded our services to provide support for grandparents raising grandchildren, which is a large component of the kinship care provider group. Some of our services include the parent support circles, which I mentioned. The purpose of those groups is to support people in a parenting role. When people in a parenting role call our offices or reach out to us, we try to help match them up to the group that will meet their needs best in their community. We offer groups in person and also online. We also, as an organization, offer kinship care support and advocacy through our support line, which we're going to talk a little bit more about. We also host parenting education workshops and webinars from time to time. We recruit and train volunteers from the community, and so we provide some skill training for those volunteers who lead some of our in-person groups. And I mentioned already that we also sometimes offer some workshops as well for various communities. And I'd like to now introduce the support line staff and let them tell you about themselves and about the work that they do to support kinship care families.
Thanks, Sandy, for the introduction. My name is Katie, and I'm one of the advocates on the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren Support Line. The Grandparents Raising Grandchildren Support Line provides support, advocacy, and resource information to grandparents and other kinship caregivers. And we'll speak in a moment about who is included in the definition of kinship caregiver, but we're happy to speak with anyone who reaches out to call our support line who may be looking for some services or some help navigating the different systems that they may be interacting with. We operate our Grandparents Raising Grandchildren Support Line on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And we encourage callers, if you're not available during that time, to leave us a voicemail on our line with your name and number. We're happy to set up an appointment to chat with you. You can also reach out to us via email, and our email address and phone numbers are listed on the slides for you. As I said, my name's Katie. So I am joined by my colleague, Christina, and we are both the advocates on the support line. I have experience with family, child protection, and Indigenous legal issues, and have worked for many years in the nonprofit sector, including as a victim service worker, and I have experience providing trauma-informed support work, which is also a piece of what we do on the line.
Thanks, Katie. My name's Christina, and I'm the social work advocate that answers the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren Support Line. I've been answering the phone for 8 years, and what I love about my job is that I'm still talking to some of those same families. We provide ongoing support. Well, we'll make referrals to local services and to our Circle program. We will accompany families over time, and it's an opportunity to build relationship and build community. Who is a kinship caregiver? My colleagues have been talking about that, but I think it's really important that we all are on the same page around the definition. So a kinship caregiver is someone with a family or a cultural connection to or a strong relationship with a child in need, who cares for that child full-time on either a temporary or permanent basis. And it's also important to recognize that sometimes this can be a result of the Ministry of Children and Family Development involvement or a delegated Aboriginal agency.
As we've mentioned, Christina and I bring multiple bring a cross-disciplinary approach to our work on the line. We don't provide legal advice on the line, but we do provide fulsome legal information. And our different backgrounds in social work and law help us to meet kinship care families where they are, which is often caught in a complicated web between family and child protection legal proceedings, Ministry for Children and Family Development or delegated Aboriginal agency services, as well as the challenges associated with bringing a child in need into your home.
I also want to just acknowledge, although some of our audience may be caregivers themselves, that those in a kinship care role face financial, legal, and social complexities. And we've provided some examples here that I think are worth saying out loud. You know, that parenting may affect the ability for caregivers to work, that family dynamics may be shifting rapidly, that decisions may be made at court or by social workers without caregiver input, that children in kinship care may need special physical or emotional care and they may have experienced trauma. Caregivers may not understand the systems they're engaged with and may not know how to protect their rights or how to access supports. And caregivers may become isolated as their support needs change. It's also important to recognize that unexpectedly raising a child significantly increases living expenses, and that can be very stressful for families. Children come into kinship care in different ways, and Katie and I like to use the analogy on the bus, because what bus you got on or how you came to be a kinship caregiver determines what kind of services and supports are available for you, and they all look very different. So those pathways include child in the home of a relative, informal kinship care relationships, kinship care when there's been ministry or delegated Aboriginal agency involvement under the Child, Family and Community Service Act, or legal proceedings under the Family Act or the Adoption Act.
We also, part of our work that we do on the line is to collect data and so that we're able to map systemic issues and trends that kinship caregivers face. Some of the information that we collect from families includes whether or not they've ever been involved with a child protection agency, including the Ministry for Children and Family Development or a delegated Aboriginal agency, and whether or not kinship caregivers have legal status with regards to the children that they're raising. This information helps us to better understand the realities that kinship caregivers face in British Columbia, and this helps inform the systemic advocacy that we're able to do on behalf of families so that we can hopefully make larger changes or contribute to larger changes to help address the needs of kinship care families in British Columbia.
Parent Support Services provides free support circle groups that are facilitated by trained volunteers. There are groups available in many communities. We are offering services also online. And what we hear from grandparents and other kinship caregivers is that they really appreciate the opportunity to talk with other people who are in a similar situation, that understand the challenges and also some of the joys or positive things that they might be experiencing in their family. And so these circles, I mentioned already, are free. They're confidential. You can be referred to a support circle through the support line. The numbers on your screen. And we also have started a Facebook group. It's a private group for grandparents and other kinship caregivers. If you're a Facebook user, you're welcome to join that group as well. Other opportunities for grandparents and kinship caregivers include our nature camp, which we have been offering for many years on Galliano Island. We also offer picnics and other events in different communities around the province. We invite you to become part of our email list. We produce a periodic newsletter, and if there are changes that come up to systems or services that might impact you, we try to include that kind of information also when we send emails out to you. So if you're interested in, you know, keeping up to date with what we're doing and what programs and services and events might be available to you, I just really encourage you to join our email list.
Thank you everyone so much for sharing your time with us today. We just wanted to close out by encouraging anyone to call the support line or send us an email. We talk to all Kinship caregivers, as we've explained, but we also talk to service providers and community allies who may be supporting Kinship caregivers. So if you have any questions about anything that we've spoken about today, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we look forward to connecting with you further.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. And if you reach out, you can connect with us many different ways through the support line, through the support groups, through the Facebook group, or being part of our email list. So thank you again.
Yes, thank you very much for your time today. We're grateful to be able to tell you about our services.